On November 8th, voters will consider a recurring operational referendum that, if approved, would infuse $4.82 million annually and permit us to do three things: attract and retain school employees, maintain most of our current programs, and pay for increasing costs. Let's talk about that word reoccurring. That means ongoing, unless the board elects not to levy to their maximum taxing authority. Given 80% of most school districts' budgets are for personnel costs, it stands to reason the need here in this referendum will need to be reoccurring, as wages and benefits seldom decrease, right? So without a recurring referendum, the constant fear of looming cuts to programs and a cloud of layoffs is neither good for the culture to which we aspire for our students, nor our employees' morale. Let's take a closer look at each. Now, when I arrived in Mount Horeb in 2016, I wanted to understand what the community members valued the most in their schools. So naturally, I distributed a survey to the community. 524 community members took part in that survey, and the results would serve as the foundation to the Board of Education's strategic plan. We call that Vision 2023. One singular response told me a great deal about the generosity of this community. I asked, what should the greatest priorities be for the school district over the next 5 years? Almost 65% of the community said, recruit and retain high-quality staff. Friends, despite several great hires these past few years, we're beginning to fall down here. Simply put, there are fewer people accepting the call to serve as public educators. This is causing the cost of talent to rise. Add in those inflationary pressures, we're not in a position to compete. Let me give you some examples. We've hired 3 principal secretaries at the primary center in 3 years, not because they didn't like the work, but because we couldn't keep up with wages from the private sector. In my mind, don't paraprofessionals who are responsible for toileting and feeding our special needs students, especially those through G-tubes, deserve a starting wage more than a student cashiering at some of our fast food restaurants? Similar wages in hospitals or nursing facilities, they start north of $20 an hour. We don't compete. If we're not proactive, I fear our district will serve as a farm team for neighboring school districts looking to recruit away our talent. Talent that has been developed and paid for by you, our taxpayers. I call it brain drain leaving the community. That brain, by the way, is drained also because of the need for our dedicated and loving teachers sometimes to have to work 2 and 3 jobs in order to care for their most basic needs. Though they do their very, very best to ensure that reality does not seep into our classrooms, their planning and their instruction, they're only human. I'm not proud to tell you this, but a new teacher in many of our districts who supports a family of 4 qualifies for free or reduced meals. This can never be a reality for which we can be okay. The second part of a successful referendum would allow us to maintain many of our programs and services. You see, for example, youth apprenticeships and opportunities for our students to earn CNA certification before they leave high school. We were fortunate to receive some funding that we applied for through the federal government, ESSER funds they've been referred to, and we've engaged you as the community to help us determine how to spend that money. You told us that we needed to make certain that we helped our struggling students in reading and literacy and numeracy. We also know that we've seen an increase in the number of students who we call English language learners, and that's necessitated additional help to support our children. How many of you know what a cost of a bus is these days? It's about $130,000 to $145,000. That's just for a basic bus. We have 26 buses in our fleet. We try to turn over our bus fleet once every 13 years. This means buying a number of buses each year. And we know the cost of diesel and electricity. Heck, even getting Chromebooks in the hands of our students has become problematic, not only because of the chip shortage, but the demand remains an all-time high. If we have a successful referendum, this would be the third facet in which we would be spending those hard-earned taxpayer dollars. Even if all school districts in our comparison were unsuccessful unsuccessful in their operational referendum bids this upcoming November, our rate would still be the least costly at a projected $9.09 per $1,000 of equalized property value. We are seeking $4.82 million in recurring funding to fill the void left by the legislature's pivot to funding per pupil increases through referendum. With a 75-cent increase per $1,000 of equalized value, we are more favorably positioned for our students to continue experiencing that world-class educational program we've enjoyed in our very hometown. Now, to be fully transparent, this is not the end of the line. It's not the end of our needs. Currently, we have a facility steering committee reviewing the results of our spring 2022 survey, in which we posited a number of ideas that were needed in terms of our brick and mortar needs. That committee is soon going to be making recommendations that may lead to an additional referendum for capital purposes sometime in the year 2023 or beyond. Headlines like the one you see here, they do more than perpetuate high-quality learning experiences for our children. They help grow property values, attract businesses, recruit talent to the community, and provide us all for a better quality of living. Vikings, we cannot cut our way to excellence. We must be green and growing. The alternative is to ripe and rot, and that's not who Mount Horeb is. Please help us to water our grass by voting on November 8th. I am proud to be a Viking, and I hope you are too.